evening and welcome to the mayoral debate for the preliminary election in North Adams, Massachusetts. My name is Tammy Daniels and I am the editor of iBerkshires.com, which is hosting this debate along with Northern Berkshire Community Television. Tonight we have with us Adamstown moderator Myra Wilk, who will be our moderator for the debate, and three of the candidates in the preliminary election, Jennifer Maxey, Lynette Bond, and April Lynn Carsno. A fourth candidate, Rachel Branch, was not able to be at this debate. So I'm going to, I want to thank you for tuning in, and I am going to throw this to Myra Wilk to take over, and I just want to remind everyone to vote this coming Tuesday in the preliminary election, which will determine which two of these candidates will end up on the general election ballot. Thank you, and I give it to you, Myra.
Thank you. Good evening. I will start by explaining some of the procedure for tonight's debate, which each candidate received ahead of time. Each candidate will have 2 minutes for an opening statement and 2 minutes for a closing statement. The candidates will each have 2 minutes to answer the question posed, and then the opportunity for a 1-minute response, and if they desire, a 30-second rebuttal. The opening statements tonight will be given in order on the ballot, and the closing statements will be the reverse ballot order. I will rotate the order, allowing each candidate to answer first to a question. When there is about a half a minute left on speaking time, the timekeeper will hold up a card indicating that the candidates have 30 seconds to finish their answer. I ask at that time that the candidates begin to wrap up when you see the card. If you continue to speak at the end of the allotted time, I will say thank you and we will move on to the next speaker. I remind candidates that no personal references about the other candidates will be tolerated and you will be ruled out of order. Please note that tonight's debate is being broadcast live on Northern Berkshire Community Television, simulcast on WMMB 100.7, and iBerkshire is live streaming tonight's event. Northern Berkshire Community Television Corporation will also rebroadcast the debate over the weekend. To the few members in the audience that we do have here tonight, I ask that you please turn off your cell phones and any beeping watches. We ask that you refrain from any clapping, cheering, calling out, until we get to the end after all the candidates have delivered their closing statements, and then I encourage you to clap and applaud our candidates. Ladies, are you ready to begin? Okay. We will begin with our opening statements, and tonight Ms. Carsno will go first.
Yes, hi. I'm April Lynn Carsno. I'm independent. I'm looking to, sorry, a little bit nervous. I'm looking to fix things that definitely need fixing, like the budget, lowering the property tax, fixing the police department and the fire department, the streets, the sidewalks. Infrastructure is really huge. So I already have all the different grants that I've been researching to do the fire department and the police department. So I'll further talk about that later on tonight.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Next, Ms. Bond.
Good evening. Thank you to iBerkshires.com and NBC-TC for hosting the forum. Thank you to Myra Wilk for being here. To Ms. Maxey and Ms. Carsno, thank you for being here. And to the viewers at home, thank you for watching. My name is Lynette Bond, and I believe that my life experiences and my work have uniquely prepared me for this role to serve as mayor of North Adams. I work currently as the Director of Development for Grants and Research at MCLA, managing millions of dollars through federal, state, and private grant programs. I work for the town of Adams in the Community Development Office on 2 community development block grants. I worked as a consultant for the Mass Hire Workforce Board, and before that was at Columbia University working on a large-scale transformation project. I was the first in my family to go to college, and I'm quite proud of my service in Honduras as a Peace Corps volunteer. I am married with 2 children. My husband, Ali, works at BMC and is a jury graduate, and our children proudly attend North Adams Public Schools. They are sixth-generation North Adams residents. As a community member, as a community member, I voluntarily led the campaign for the Coal Grove Park Elementary School project that set up the city for the maximum reimbursement rate by the Massachusetts School Building Authority. I currently serve on the North Adams Planning Board, and I was a treasurer and board member of Child Care of the Berkshires. I've been a foster parent for the Department of Children and Family, and our family has been a host family for the Steeple Cats. I've been a basketball coach for the North Adams Youth Basketball League. Volunteering and serving this community has provided me with the insight into the joys and struggles that has prepared me to serve and understand the community. I am prepared, committed to this community, and have the experience to put our public resources to work. I welcome and look forward to sharing more with you this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bond. And Ms. Maxey.
Thank you. I'd like to thank iBerkshires and the North Berkshire Community Television for hosting this event. My name is Jennifer Maxey, and I was born, raised, and educated here in North Adams. I am the proud daughter of Teresa Casaselli Maxey and the late Edward J. Maxey. My parents have always stressed that I should give back to the community, and I feel that now the time is right to use my experience and give back to the community that I care so much about and run for mayor of North Adams. My experience includes 16 years serving with the city of North Adams in several capacities. Upon graduation from college at age 22, I was appointed the Director of Finance and Chief Procurement Officer. After 5 years in that position, I was appointed the Treasurer, Tax Collector, and Chief Financial Officer, a position that I held for 8 years. Upon leaving municipal government, I held positions at MCLA, Southern Vermont College, and I'm currently the Assistant Superintendent of the North Berkshire School Union. I believe in North Adams, and I would like to use my expertise in helping moving the city forward. I will be the mayor who represents all voices in North Adams, and I will always put the best interests of the city first. I will bring back to the mayor's office a professional leadership, accountability, and financial oversight. Tonight, I hope to have good discussion with my colleagues up here about important issues that face this city. I'd love to talk about quality of life, our neighborhoods, aging infrastructure, economic development, and providing the youth with the best education possible. And most importantly, I want to make North Adams an affordable community. Thank you.
Thank you. So we're going to begin with our questions. And one of the questions that I have been asked about several times as we led up to tonight was about public safety in the city of North Adams. Everyone agrees the public safety buildings need to be replaced. What part do you think should be a priority, the police station or the fire station? And the first question will begin with Ms. Bond.
Thank you. In my first year, I am committed to funding the site selection and design for a public safety facility. This will be done with the federal funding and the $2.1 million bond bill that has been set aside for this engineering design for this facility. I will work hard and strongly advocate that our local representatives make this funding available. I also want to talk about some of the other infrastructure issues. We need to update our water and sewer with the goal to create an enterprise fund. However, we need to examine how this may shift and affect the general fund. Other infrastructure projects include sidewalk accessibility, flood chute wall repairs, and an updated streetscape to our downtown. Our downtown also needs updated period lighting, traffic calming patterns to increase walkability and provide better, more suitable parking for our businesses and housing. Our critical infrastructure needs can no longer be deferred, and with the infrastructure bill that is nearing passage before the House, we must act now to shore up any design work necessary, because it is likely that only those projects that have gone through design will be eligible to receive funds. I am ready to deliver upon the infrastructure needs within our city.
Thank you. Ms. Carsno.
Yes. There's actually multiple grants available for the fire station. So my first would be the fire station. The police department can be moved to the old juvenile court. It's already set up with jail cells and everything. So that's a simple move. But it's extremely important that, you know, our fire department is up and running. So there's an ARRA, there's an AFG, a BRIC grant, and AFG and SAFER grants. They are for fire departments. So between that and like my video that I had put on Facebook, I had showed the flood walls down. I had showed the fire hydrants. I want to make sure that they're put on a regular schedule so we don't run into this again. 2 homes being burnt down was too many. So the whole city in a whole is my main concern. I want to make sure we have streets and sidewalks that we can walk on, that when they go to plow, it doesn't hurt the blades to the plow. There's so much safety that needs to be looked at, and it's in a hole.
Thank you. Thank you. Ms. Maxey?
Well, going back to your initial question on, you know, what should be addressed first, police or fire. Overall, before we can even get to that, my first act will be to appoint a building committee to address the need for a new facility. This committee will be tasked for finding a suitable location, and then we'll tease out, you know, can we move all of them? Can we move some of them? How does it work? But I'll be focused on creating a creative finance plan for this new facility that is state-of-the-art, but most importantly, affordable to the citizens. We need to collaborate with all walks of life on this, including not only police and fire, but also the citizens, the city council, and anyone who's interested in this project. You know, as April mentioned, state and federal funding is absolutely important, but we need to be focused on what's affordable to our citizens. The building has been studied in the past, I think, by almost every administration. So we need to take the data that we have, look at it, examine it, and find a course of action that will help us move this building forward. We need to think outside the box, and we pretty much need to stop talking about it and make an action plan. And as far as overall, infrastructure, in my first 100 days, I plan to create a short and long-term capital improvement plan and work with the City Council to address our aging infrastructure. Again, that will include a lot of things that my colleagues up here have said, the replacement of sidewalks, streets, and the underground aging infrastructure. We can't forget what's going on underneath. So we need to be creative, and we'll use stimulus money along with Chapter 90 and the Community Block Grant to get more streets done. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Karsna, do you have anything else you'd like to add? For one, you have 1 minute. Oh. No? You're all set? Ms. Maxey?
I'm all set, thank you.
Ms. Vaughn?
Sure. Thinking about our police department, and I have met with the police and the fire, I do want to advocate strongly that we really do need a suitable public safety building. It's not adequate, it is not suitable, and does not allow our police officers to do their jobs. And while we're talking about the police department, I'll just touch a little bit about crime prevention, because we know that this is all about relationships. And our officers, we need officers who know and care about the community. And we know that knowing our officers and knowing that they are valued and that we can pay competitively, this will help to keep our officers in North Adams. So we want North Adams to know that we have a safe community, and with that work of retaining our officers and allowing them to work in a safe, suitable facility will be a priority of my administration.
Thank you. Do any of the candidates wish to make a 30-second rebuttal?
I would, actually.
Ms. Karsna?
My cousin is Sergeant Burdick, actually. And from my understanding, there is no working toilets within the cells. There is toilets within the department itself for the officers, but none for the people that are arrested. And my concern is for the public, not so much the officers.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Ms. Maxey?
and along those lines with the public, this building has to be accessible for the public, and currently it is not ADA compliant. I agree with Mrs. Bond that, our officers deserve much better, and this is something that is a priority to me. But I'm also focused that, people go to the public safety building for good things, and they need to be able to get in it, specifically our elderly and anyone who's handicapped.
Yes.
Thank you. Ms. Bond, you're all set? Okay, thank you. The next question, staying in the public safety realm, should the city continue to keep its own dispatch center or contract with the Berkshire County Dispatch Organization? The wages of the grant-funded dispatchers is close to the state minimum. If you keep them, would you raise wages or would bring them into the public safety classifications? And Ms. Carsno, you have the opportunity to answer first.
I honestly would keep our dispatchers within our own facility.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I'm direct and to the point.
And that's very much appreciated. Thank you.
You're
Okay.
welcome.
All right, Ms. Maxey.
Yeah, I think they do a wonderful job, and they work endless hours in very stressful situations, more than we realize. And I think a overall, analysis needs to be done of what is the going wage of dispatchers and what are their qualifications. And I do feel that they're underpaid. But I'd like to, look and see and do some studies as to what is the correct rate. I do believe that we should keep that facility in-house. It serves many, many purposes. But again, I'm open to collaboration, and I'm open to consolidation of resources. But my instinct and from my experience is that's a very valuable tool that we have in public safety, is that dispatch.
Thank you. Ms. Bond?
Thank you for that question. So that really gets to the idea of shared services, and should we move this cost center to another location? And we know what the costs are. We know that there is the opportunity in the Sheriff's Department. This is something that needs to be explored, and we can examine and take a look at it. This has been done in the town of Adams. It's been done in other municipalities. Does it work for North Adams? We will have to investigate and look into this further. But it's a cost center. It's either will stay here or go elsewhere. But it is something to examine, and we do want to have that service for the city, but we want to serve the entire North Berkshire region.
Thank you. Ms. Maxey, you have the opportunity to go first for a 1-minute response.
Yeah, I agree with Mrs. Bond about serving Northern Berkshire, but our #1 priority has to be the service here in North Adams first. And of course, obviously looking at the cost, but we need to make sure that all of our decisions and anything with consolidation is made in the best interest of the city.
Okay. Ms. Carsno?
I agree with Jennifer.
Ms. Bond, anything else?
No, go ahead.
Do any of the candidates wish to make a rebuttal statement on this question? All right, moving on. Let's talk about infrastructure in the city. I know you've all touched on it a little bit, but there are a number of high-profile structures the city has unsuccessfully tried to sell. Western Gateway Heritage Park, the Mohawk Theater, and the Windsor Mill. Are you in favor of this policy? And if so, how do you plan to market these properties? And if not, what are your plans for these properties? And we will begin question 3 with Ms. Maxey.
Sure. I think all 3 of those parcels are important properties within the city of North Adams. I believe strongly that we need to look to either jointly collaborate with private investors or we need to sell them. The city of North Adams should not be in the business of owning properties that they can't maintain. But I also feel that there could be an opportunity to bring more businesses into those locations, but we need to do more marketing of those properties. And I really want to evaluate what is the purpose of the building and can they be reused for another purpose within the city. But at the end of the day, if we can get those back on the tax rolls in some form, let's do that. And I also think that the focus of is we just shouldn't sell everything. We should really look towards the future and make decisions that are going to sustain us.
Thank you. Ms. Carsno.
Yeah, to my understanding, the city is not supposed to own property. So I think we should bring the theater back to life. It'd be great to have local talent, you know, to perform there, bring people to our area, because all I keep seeing is Mass Mocha keeps bringing in different entertainers and everything, but a lot of the people go to Mass Mocha, stay at Mass Mocha. They don't venture out to the city. They eat at their restaurants. They see their shows. I'm not seeing a lot venture into the city, so if we can bring that talent to our theater, whether it be a local talent or, you know, a talent from, you know, outside the city, that it would be awesome, especially for plays and MCLA, and, you know, I think we should see what we could do for our city.
Thank you. Ms. Bond?
Thank you. We've had a number of ideas that have come before the city, but thinking specifically about the Mohawk Theater, many different ideas, but not one has stuck. So this has been an ongoing issue for many administrations. So without a business plan, without a funding plan, I don't think we need to keep different properties. It may be time to put out this one in particular out to bid. Of course, we'd want the city to maintain control of the marquee, but this is something that we may need to talk to developers, see if there is interest, and if not, we need to put that out to bid. Other properties around the city, I'm thinking about Sullivan School, there is an opportunity for reuse, and we know that we have a housing deficit in the city of North Adams. So this would be a great opportunity to look at housing, to look at workforce housing needs, and address that for the housing needs of our city.
Thank you. Ms. Carsno, 1 minute to you.
She actually touched on something that I was going to talk about later on. There's been talk about Sullivan School and how it's been sitting vacant. I've been thinking about how it should have been turned into apartments if it ain't going to be turned back into a school again. And now there's a subject of Greylock School. Again, the same scenario. If our children cannot go to school there and they can't fix it so they can go there safely, it should be turned into affordable housing.
Thank you. Ms. Bond, you have 1 minute. If you have anything further to add to the question.
I think that part of what we're touching upon is the need for housing. It's desperately needed. We know that our educational partners, other businesses in the area have really talked about this need to address workforce housing. And if we can do that, we can help to bring more people into North Adams, increase the enrollment of our schools, and help those employers who need employees. We know we have a workforce shortage, and again, getting into housing, I think we can address some of those needs within the city.
Thank you. Ms. Maxey, 1 minute.
Yeah, my interpretation of the question was it revolved around Heritage Park and Windsor Mill, but definitely, you know, the Mohawk Theater, we need to bring life back into that. That is the center of our downtown, and that will be a big draw. I remember growing up, going to many performances there. And, you know, as far as, you know, Sullivan School and Greylock, we can't leave those buildings abandoned. And I agree, we need to invest in our downtown and, you know, move those properties along. But we also need to create jobs.
Okay. Does anyone want to make a rebuttal? Does anyone have a rebuttal? Ladies are making this very easy tonight. All right. Let's go to economics for a little bit. The City Council recently approved the adoption of the state smart growth zoning to encourage development of so-called affordable housing. Do you support this action, and why or why not? And this will begin with Ms. Carsno.
Actually, I was actually excited that you just mentioned that, because my brother-in-law, that's his boss's building. So I was just at that meeting at the city council, and I was a little bit baffled. I'm all for it, okay? But I was baffled because City Hall has been given $600,000 over the last 2 years, and they're gonna be given another $3,000 per unit. I like to know where these funds are going. We're getting all this money coming in, but I don't see it going out anywhere within the city. So hopefully that money is being spent where it needs to go, because so far I haven't seen it, but I am all for this program.
Thank you.
You're
Ms.
welcome.
Bond?
Thank you. Smart Growth Zoning is one of those forward-looking programs. It provides safe, quality housing options for households of all sizes, ages, and income. This plan encourages the types of development consistent with the city's Vision 2030 plan, and it preserves the historical character of the neighborhoods. As a planning board member, we've reviewed these plans for nearly 2 years, and I strongly supported this plan and voted in favor of it. As Ms. Carson noted, with the adoption of the plan, which just happened on Tuesday, the city will receive that $600,000, which is directed towards infrastructure for water and sewer upgrades, roads, sidewalks, and other improvements in that zone. And this could be used as leverage with developers as they think about those properties. And this really speaks to our city. We are a mill town. We have very unique housing needs. We have distressed properties with much of our housing stock that is pre-1940s. So I'm very happy to see a renewal of properties, even through private investment, and we want to encourage this. We can also look at other opportunities with Community Preservation Act, with Get the Lead Out, but we know that we need housing. We have a deficit in this city for housing. So this is just one tool to use with the smart growth. Not every developer needs to use it, but it's a tool that we can use from the city.
Thank you. Ms. Maxey?
Sure. I need to learn a lot more about 40R. I can tell you that I'm in favor of policies and ordinances that are going to help boost our housing stock and promote development. However, I'm not sure where I stand on this right now. I really want to learn more about it as it's something new on the books. But I thank everyone who is involved in the process, and I think it's a good step, but I just wish we had more conversations around it. I also am concerned about only having a certain designated area. I believe it's 57 acres. So what about Sullivan School? What about the West End? The devil is in the details, and I'd like to learn more about it. And I'm just concerned about the infrastructure needs. I understand a program like this will help us in the future, but as we're building these properties, what about our infrastructure? And I want to see the application and what were the infrastructure requirements around it. As your mayor, I want to work with the planning board and community development on these projects and private investors. But as it stands now, I believe the planning board is the one who's going to approve all of this. And I just think these projects need to be vetted a little bit more. And as far as deficit housing, you know, I think it's great that we have new development, and I think it's great that we invest in properties. But we have a lot of other houses outside this zone that need some help. And as your mayor, I want to help those property owners as well. Thank you.
Ms. Bond, you have 1 minute if you have anything.
I just want to comment today. Our community development staff put a lot of time into this, and they presented many times to the planning board and to city council and to public hearings. So I just want to mention Zach Fury. He's just been such a great partner with this, and really want to thank him for his work. So it's time for action. I want to move forward with this plan and help to address, again, our housing needs in the city.
Ms. Maxey?
I agree with all of that, and you know, I think our staff in City Hall works incredibly hard, but at the same time as we're making these investments, we want to safeguard the future of all of these properties and how it all phases into the sustainability of North Adams and especially our neighborhoods. And the downtown is a neighborhood.
Thank you. Ms. Carson? All set? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So all of you have indicated the need for investment in services and infrastructure, but North Adams is closing in on its levy capacity, and its net operating revenues have annually declined more than increased over the past decade. How do you plan to address this financial stress and yet achieve your goals? And Ms. Maxey, you get to go first.
Sure. I think it's very important that we wisely allocate and spend any of the federal stimulus money that is coming to us. That's a significant amount of money coming to North Adams, and we need to invest that very wisely. But I also think at the same time we need to examine what we have and what plans we have, and we need to create a long-term and short-term capital outlay plan that realistically puts numbers with what our needs are, and we need to share that with people. At the same time, I think we need to be able to expand our tax base, whether it be bringing more city property on the tax rolls, or whether it be bringing more businesses in so we can expand the commercial base of taxation. But at the bottom line, we need to look at our budget, and we know that it's slim. But then that's when the questions start asking about how we can consolidate services, how we can outsource services, how we can work with other areas on things. But the bottom line is we have a lot of resources, and I think we really need to examine how we use them and then match that with the revenue stream that we have. And we have to look for new sources of revenue. We can't always operate like we have. So it's a little bit of a balancing act, Myra. But at the end of the day, we need to push on the state. We need to push on the federal level, and we can't be afraid to say, hey, we're North Adams, we need some help, but we're really worth it.
Ms. Karsno.
For the revenue itself, we need to reach out to the different businesses to bring them to our area. We haven't had any new businesses in a while, and then the ones that we did get, we lost due to COVID. So I think if we brought the businesses to the area, which would help with our revenue, and the current mayor just put in to raise the taxes for next year. And it's a little bit concerning considering it's $1.44 million, and it's going to hit on the homeowner. I already pay enough for home taxes and everything else, and something needs to be done. So we really need to rework the budget, cut the taxes, and look at the grants. They're there for a reason. We need to use them.
Thank you. Ms. Bond.
Thank you. So yes, we are approaching that levy limit. So our city cannot depend solely on taxes from its residents and businesses. We must also secure public funding to support our infrastructure, our schools, and our residents. I'm dedicated to using my expertise in this area to secure funding from our state and federal resources, and of course, maximizing those dollars. Another way to lessen the tax burden on our residents and our businesses is, as we've talked about, to expand the tax base. And frankly, that is the only sustainable side of the budget, is growth. We must encourage development and bring in more businesses and jobs to the city. I am committed to securing a new business at Hardman Park and other areas across the city. I know we have interested partners, and I will bring them to the table. The city can also generate more revenue, as we've talked about, by encouraging investment. And with the adoption of 40R, of smart growth, we can bring in new developers. So we must work to bring in that workforce housing to attract employers and employees. Again, it all works together so we can expand our tax base. So I view the job of the mayor as the chief advocate to attract new businesses and to provide assistance to our current businesses. I'd like to form a team to welcome new businesses to the city and demonstrate that we are a welcoming and inclusive community, so that we can attract more businesses, and in turn, we know that our businesses then can provide more to our tax base, and we can invest more in our infrastructure, fill the job vacancies that exist in our city, and increase the enrollment in our schools.
Thank you. Ms. Karsno, you have 1 minute.
I'm good. Thank you.
Ms. Bond, you have 1 minute.
I would like to openly and honestly demonstrate, of course, that your tax dollars are being put to good use for the city. So my expertise is in securing funds and managing large-scale projects that benefit municipalities and schools. And I really want to put this experience and this expertise to work in North Adams. I will ensure that we maximize federal infrastructure dollars that will be available soon and rebuild our aging infrastructure.
Ms. Maxey?
You know, at the same time, while we want to attract new businesses, we also need to focus on our existing businesses and promote them and collaborate with them and work with them on expansion. We also can't lose focus of the people who've always been here and what their needs are and what their abilities are. We need to make sure we bring jobs for all walks of life. But most importantly, we need things that are going to sustain and things that are going to help us with all kinds of things, not only financially, but even social services.
Okay. Does anyone have rebuttal? Certainly, go right ahead, 30 seconds.
Ms. Maxey talked about our small businesses, and I do want to note just how important our small businesses are to our community. And that requires a shift in all of our thinking, really, is to think about shopping locally, because of course when we shop at our small businesses, our local businesses, we all succeed. We know that it's our local businesses who are the heart of our community. They are the ones sponsoring the sports teams and doing the fundraisers for those that are in need, and they are the ones that pay the taxes to support our investment. So again, that's my public service announcement, to support our local economy.
Anyone else? So let's stick with the small business conversation. One positive outgrowth of this pandemic has been a proliferation of small businesses. Do you think the city should encourage small ventures? And if so, what form should they take? And if not, why not? In this question, we'll start with Ms. Bond.
To support our local businesses and our local workforce, we need to prepare our current and, of course, our future workers for the jobs that are available today and into the future. We can do this through increased vocational, occupational education programs with resources from our Mass Hire Workforce Board, our education partners. We also need to support our child care providers so that families can work knowing that their children have a safe, reliable place to go. Finally, we can encourage programs like the Senior Tax Work-Off Program or rebates to our senior homeowners. And we can look at student internship programs that prepare our young people for careers right here in North Adams. To support our small businesses, I do want to form a team to welcome them to the city. I want to help our small businesses with workforce training needs and, of course, ensure that the city is involved in the online permitting program. This helps our local contractors and our businesses. And we can also provide small business assistance through grants and loans. Again, supporting our businesses takes a commitment from all of us, and we need to support them because this is our local economy.
Thank you. Ms. Maxey?
You know, with small businesses, my mom and dad ran a mom and pop operation on Marshall Street for many years. We did very well, and we saw the effects when Sprague Electric left. But those businesses are so important because not only do those businesses provide jobs, they provide opportunities for community and people to come together. So I think it's very important that we make the processes of the city simple, easy, but applicable to the law. Sometimes government can complicate people's lives, and that's not what it should do. It should help people. And at the same time, you know, why we talk about we want people working, we also need to ensure that our kids have a safe place to go while mom and dad are working. So after school programming is a priority for me. We have many, many good programs in this city, but we need many more. And again, we need to support our local businesses, but at the same time, we also need to be realistic to what we can do and what we can't do. But we need to expand. We need to expand, and we need to be welcoming, and we need to help businesses who want to come into the community. And to start, when you go to City Hall, you should be able to sit down with someone and get your questions answered and be given a packet and, you know what is expected of you. So when you go to committee, you're not surprised. And that's where I think some transparency and some good planning and processes help these small businesses for people who've never done this before. So government is here to help, not hinder people.
Ms. Carsno.
I actually agree. There was actually just a small business that we had on Eagle Street across from Village Pizza. and they actually closed the doors on Saturday, and it was very sad to see them go. Her complaint to me was there was lack of parking. That when they had called the city hall to complain, they were told that they were going to make an eatery in front of Village Pizza. And this concern, they closed the store. They had no parking. People had nowhere to park because they keep on putting eateries, which I'm all for, but we don't have enough parking on that street. So if you're gonna take away the parking spot to put a little sitting, area for coffee or to sit and eat, you gotta think about the little businesses now that just lost that parking spot. So we need to work with the businesses. Don't take it upon ourselves to make that decision. We should talk to them because we're taking away their parking.
Thank you. Ms. Maxey, you have 1 minute. If you'd like to add anything further.
I mean, I think we're all in agreement that we need to market North Adams and we need to sell the beautiful community that we have. We have a lot of very talented people in North Adams. Everything from, running a machine shop to an artist to a school teacher to somebody who just likes to write. And we need to bring people together to talk about what's important and what do they want the landscape of their city to look like. And at the same time, we need to reach high. We need to look to see if we can bring in an LL Bean factory store, or we can expand in Hardman Park. I agree with you, Lynette, on that. But at the same time, we need to focus on process so everyone is treated equitably, fairly, and has the same opportunity.
Okay. Ms. Carsno, you have 1 minute.
I'm good.
You're good. Okay. Ms. Bond, you have 1 minute.
Sure. Thinking more about the efficiencies within City Hall, another thing we can look at is an online system that tracks our infrastructure needs within the city. This has been a successful program in Pittsfield through their Pitts Smart program. So this is another online technology that we can offer along with our online permitting. Again, these are programs that already exist in neighboring communities, so we need to adopt that here in North Adams. We can also look at redundancies within our city and neighboring towns and explore shared services within our Northern Berkshire region.
Thank you. Does anyone have rebuttal? Jennifer? Sorry,
Not so
Ms.
much of
Maxey.
a rebuttal, but something to add. Why we're expanding, we need to be realistic. As of right now, I believe we don't have a code enforcement officer. And even though the word code enforcement scares some people, we do need someone who's going to supervise businesses and apartments. And as we develop, we need a person. So as we're trying to expand, we need to be realistic to what our employees can do and where we need help. And code enforcement is one of them. We can't leave that position vacant.
Thank you. Anyone else? So while we're talking about economy and business and small business, another area of economy in the Berkshires is our outdoor economy. Do you support the proposed bike path route in the West End that will connect the Williamstown leg to the airport and eventually to Phelps Ave? Why or why not? And Ms. Maxey, you get to go first.
I support anything that is going to get people and children away from their computers. Again, I need to learn a little bit more about that project, and I am willing to listen and learn. But at the end of the day, I want to know how that's going to affect those neighborhoods. It's very important that we preserve our neighborhoods and we enhance our neighborhoods. With that being said, I think recreation is so important for this community. Not only for the bike path, but the skateboard park and the fields, and kids and adults need to have an outlet. And we have such a beautiful community here. Let's take advantage of all of our natural resources.
Thank you. Ms. Bond.
Thank you. Yes, North Adams is a mecca for natural beauty with ample opportunities for outdoor recreation and tourism. providing what is an overwhelmingly enjoyed form of recreation across the county, across our Commonwealth, and across the entire country, bike paths are very popular. And it's something that will allow our city residents to enjoy the beauty, experience the outdoors, and of course reap the economic benefits that a bike path will bring to our community. So yes, and I remember Gail Ancaridi being a staunch supporter of the bike trail. So I agree with Gail. This is something we do need to bring into our community.
Thank you. Ms. Karsno?
I'm all for it as long as it doesn't mess with the neighborhoods, people's properties. I wouldn't want to intrude on them. But my family is from this area. I was conceived in this area, but raised down the other side of Boston. And when I first moved back up here, the area, it sings to you. So if we can keep the peace, the quiet, and people respecting while on the bike path, that I'm all for it. It's about the tranquility of the Berkshires.
Ms. Bond, you have 1 minute if you'd like to add anything else.
Yeah, I did want to touch upon, you mentioned that the west end is where the bike path is going through, but from what I understand, it has moved. I don't think it is going through the Phelps Ave from the airport to the Y. It has moved to the other side of the river. So that's something to explore, but of course we want the bike path to go where it's wanted in the city, so we'll need to examine the path. But we know that Williamstown has done a great job. It's come in on that side. We know Adams has done a great job getting the bike path over to Lime Street. So it's our turn, North Adams. It's our turn to make this bike path possible for the citizens, for our economy, and I will pursue this.
Thank you. Ms. Karsno, you have 1 minute. Okay.
Thank
Ms.
you.
Maxey, you have 1 minute.
I think I'm all set right now.
Let's talk about public health. Do you support a mandated COVID-19 vaccinations for city and school employees? And Ms. Bond, it goes to you to start.
Thank you. So I understand this last year has just been an incredibly difficult past 18 months or so. And unfortunately, the pandemic is not over yet. The CDC Commonwealth's guidelines have indeed been quite confusing at times. They're continually changing as we learn more. And I assure you that no one completely understands this virus. And we have to do and follow the science so that we can keep us all safe. I know that we can keep us safe and, of course, stay open. So it is my intention to keep our schools, our businesses, our restaurants open. I'm confident we can continue to play youth sports and have our extracurricular activities. But this does mean vaccination and masking and keeping our schools clean, our businesses clean with ventilation, with testing programs in our schools. It is the only way, so we need to do our part. Notably, public health also means access to recreation, so I will encourage our residents to remain active and live healthy lives. But to your question of mandating vaccines, that's really up to each business and each employer.
Thank you. Ms. Maxey?
You know, COVID has been such an unknown, and we still don't know what the future brings for us. I believe that it's key to be well informed, to work with the experts, the scientists, the health boards, and use that information to guide us to have a safe community. I personally believe in masking. I believe in vaccination, and I believe in social distancing. But I also know that vaccination also isn't the cure, and that we need to mask, social distance. But I'm sensitive to the people who can't wear masks. I'm sensitive to the people who have medical issues that may not be able to get vaccinated. And I think we all need to do our part, especially to safeguard our kids who are not able to get vaccinated. So right now, I'm not in a position to say yes or no that I would mandate vaccinations for city and school employees. But I will tell you that I think we need to do everything that we can to be protecting ourselves. And that's very much an individual bias, an individual thought right now. But to me, I want to keep businesses open. I definitely want to keep schools open. And I know I want to keep my 90-year-old mother safe. So masks it is.
Thank you. Ms. Carsno?
No, I would never, ever tell somebody they have to get vaccinated to hold their job or keep their job or for their child to go to school. I think that's ridiculous. I just buried my best friend who died from COVID. My son's roommate, his father just died last week from COVID. So when I worked at BMC at the beginning of this year, we wore goggles and we double masked. I chose to get my vaccination, but it was a choice. I would never tell somebody they have to get something to keep their job or stay in school. I think that's utterly ridiculous.
Ms. Maxey, you have 1 minute if you like.
Sure, while we're talking about COVID, I think it's very important that, it's been a rough year for everyone. And I think that the North Berkshire Regional Planning Committee and all of the volunteers that worked at St. Elizabeth to open our COVID center to help with the vaccinations, even more so the Council on Aging who are on the phone scheduling people, they should be applauded. They did a wonderful, wonderful job, and it was a thankless job because everybody wanted their vaccination all at once, and it was an important job. And I think the City of North Adams, specifically the Regional Planning Committee, did a wonderful job in helping protecting the citizens of the city. And we need to be prepared because people are saying that September, October, we're going to have another spike. We need to be prepared to what the next round of booster shots looks like, and make sure we can service the citizens of the city to get them if they so choose.
Thank you. Ms. Carsno?
Good.
Okay. Ms. Bond, 1 minute.
It is, my commitment is to the health and safety of this community. My husband worked at BMC as an emergency room PA, so I've heard the effects, and I have a sister who worked on the COVID floor as a nurse. So I understand it's very personal, but we do need to keep the health of our community and our safety of our community in mind as we make these decisions.
Thank you. Any rebuttals this evening? Ms. Carsno?
Yeah, I do, because I think it should be choice. No one should have the right to tell you what to do with your own body, whether it's a vaccination or anything else. It's your choice. Double mask, don't single, and stay 6 feet apart. It's real, but no one will ever tell somebody what they can and cannot do, especially with the vaccination. It's wrong.
Thank you. Anyone else? Well, staying with COVID, and to a point that Ms. Maxey just stated, that we can expect a spike in cases as we are coming into fall and into winter. If the state chooses not to consider any stricter mitigation efforts, would you, as mayor in the city, consider stricter mitigation efforts despite what the Commonwealth says? And that question goes to Ms. Carsno to start.
Can I pass? I usually follow what I'm told. If Baker states, we are to do something, I'm going to follow what I'm being told. It's important on the citizens within the city. So I personally would be looking at exactly what's going on before I make any calls of on anything. Honestly, I want to know exactly what is going on for me to change my own ruling and go against a governor or a senator or whoever it may be.
Thank you. Ms. Bond.
The Commonwealth has done a very good job with their vaccinations. We lead the country behind Vermont in vaccinations. So I believe that we will stay ahead of the curve, we will stay ahead in the country, but we all have to do our part. So we want to, again, just encourage vaccinations, encourage masking, and continue on the track that we're on. We want to keep everyone safe in our community.
Thank you. Ms. Maxey?
You know, I think we all need to really be sensitive to social gatherings. I know myself, we were scheduled to have our kickoff inside because who thought we were going to have a spike of COVID, and because we were concerned about the well-being of our community, we had an outside event. I believe Lynette had an outside event as well. And I think as we plan, and as we plan as a city, we need to be sensitive to bringing people together. However, it's unfortunate tonight that we don't have the excitement of the crowd. You know, thank you all for coming, but the camaraderie and the group. But at the end of the day, I'd rather know that we're all going to be in this until November 2nd or September 21st, and we're safe. So I think as we plan events, we need to be sensitive to bringing people together, and we need to be masking. But at the same time, we need to be sure that we can get our voices out and we can get those activities out to our community. But the overall philosophy with COVID, you know, I rely on the experts. And I think we need to stay in our bubbles a little bit longer and keep our masks on and do what we personally can. So as a city right now, you know, I'm sensitive to, we have to go back to some sense of normalcy. Our kids need to be in school, they need to play sports, but we need to wear a mask. And beyond that, I'm going to rely on the data to make decisions.
Thank you. Ms. Bond, you have 1 minute if you choose.
This is one place where we completely agree, so absolutely. We do need to continue with masking and vaccinations and follow the science. That is the most important takeaway from this. So thank you for that.
Anything else on this? Ms. Karsner? All set. Well, let's talk education. Your role as mayor also makes you the chairman of the school committee. As chairman of the school committee and mayor, what would be your priorities to the schools in the city of North Adams? And Ms. Bond, you have the opportunity to go first.
Great, thank you. First is to address our school buildings. So we can continue to provide high quality and equitable education to our young people. So we'll start with the funding available through the Massachusetts School Building Authority through the Critical Repairs Program to make the necessary improvements to our elementary school building. We can only better our education if we have the buildings that support our teachers and our students. I am quite proud of my work at Colgrove Park Elementary because I voluntarily led that campaign for the renovation of the school and set up the city for the maximum reimbursement of a project by the Massachusetts School Building Authority. I worked tirelessly to make sure that our students could take advantage, and we had that funding in front of us. It would have been a calamitous disaster for our city to miss out on that funding, to not renovate the old Drury High School into what is now Colgrove Park. So I knew we had an opportunity, and I could not let that funding to go to another community. So that's just a project I wanted to give an example, because I will fight for every dollar and make sure that North Adams takes advantage of public and funding opportunities for our schools. So I've been in the schools, I've met the teachers, and I can assure you that high quality education is happening. So I'd like to change the narrative and make sure that we know of the high quality education that's happening. For example, we know that Drury was ranked as one of the top 20% of schools in the nation for college and career readiness. So I'm quite proud that my children attend North Adams Public Schools. My son currently attends Drury, and my daughter's at Colgrove. And I want all children to experience the high quality education through our public schools.
Thank you. Ms. Karsner?
Well, I think we need to do regular inspections of the schools, first off. Make sure everybody's IEP is looked at and discussed. And, you know, when my children went to school back in the day, I'm a grandmother, so I'm in a different category, their IEPs weren't met. You know, I had walked in to check on my son, and my son was in the back of the classroom. I knew he has hearing impairment. So, you know, I would make sure that everybody is being taught the way they need to be taught, that the IEPs are being, you know, looked at, because I was told that the teachers do not look at them, which I find it extremely hard I don't understand how they can teach a child if you don't know what's in the IEP. So I'd make sure that teachers were able to read IEPs, so that way the children are learning what they need to, and they're on target, because I know from personal experiences, my son wasn't being taught what he needed to. So I need, you know, to make sure that the kids are learning. You know, the teachers are speaking to the parents. I would be more involved on the special ed level, more so than the regular mainstream classrooms.
Thank you. Ms. Maxey?
Education is very important to me and is the heart of this community, the well-being of our children. They are the future of this community. As the chairperson of the school committee, I will be an active member with the main goal of ensuring that all of our students receive the best education, that there is equity for all students. I will make the decisions that are in the best interest of our students to ensure that they receive a quality education. I got a quality education in North Adams, and I'm proud of that. We need to focus on a robust curriculum. We need to keep class size down, and we need to have innovative and exciting after-school programs. Every student should have the opportunity to participate in any activity that they want to. We have to focus on creating well-rounded and prepared students. As your mayor, I will ensure that any dollar that comes to the city, any extra dollar that comes to the city, is invested in the students and their classrooms. But at the same time, I also think as important as education is, kids need time to play. So we need to find a balance. Kids need recess. Teachers need breaks. But at the same time, kids need to play. And I'm very focused on what happens after school. Education needs to continue throughout the day. And that's why I really think robust after-school programs are important. And I also believe that getting back into the neighborhoods with police substations are important to provide tutoring programs, mentoring programs, and to help support the child as a whole.
Thank you. Ms. Carsno, you have 1 minute if you wish.
Yeah, actually, I would. We used to have the Cody program here, and years ago, they had got rid of it. The kids used to go there after school, and it kept them out of trouble. Well, throughout the years, schools have got rid of home ec, sewing, wood shop. I think we need to bring those back. Kids have no life skills anymore. They're not learning them in school. And if we could bring back something like the Cody, where they can learn something, or bring it back within the school, we're not setting our children up for failure, because they're not having the life skills in school anymore, and I think it's very vital to their growth.
Thank you. Ms. Maxey, you have 1 minute.
During my time at City Hall, I was the lead administrator on the Drury High School renovation project. As a Drury alum, that was very important to me. And you know, as we develop our schools, facilities improvements are very important. We need to stay ahead of the curve. But I think at the same time, we need a leader at City Hall, an experienced mayor who knows how to manage academics, the financial support, and then the social emotional needs of our school system. And that even includes our teachers, our staff. It includes the mayor as well. It includes all of us. And the last few years, that's exactly what I've been doing through the North Berkshire School Union. Through COVID, we learned how important addressing social emotional needs are. And that was something that we should have been doing right along. When we talk about special ed and IEP programs, those are services that should be embedded in our curriculum.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Bond, you have 1 minute.
We mentioned the after-school programs, and I want to mention that the 21st Century After-School Program is excellent, and we need to market programs like this so that we can increase our enrollment in our public schools. We know that we lost over 100 students, maybe due to the pandemic or for other reasons. So we want to attract those families and let families know all the good things that are happening in our schools so that we can educate our North Adams families.
Thank you. Anyone have a rebuttal? Ms. Maxey?
As we talk about attracting students and selling our programs, we also need to examine why students are school choicing out of our district. From the position I sit at the North Berkshire School Union, I love school choice students from North Adams. But as the mayor, I want to know why these students are leaving. I want to know why parents are making the choice to go to another school. Are they legacy students? Is there something going on that we might not see? Because we should be working to keep all of our residents here in our school. Thank you, Tammy.
Thank you. Anyone else? I'm going to stick with the topic that Ms. Maxey just brought up, and that is the declining enrollment in the schools within North Adams. And let's expand a little on how do we get families not only to move to North Adams, but those families with children in North Adams that tend to leave to other districts. And this question I'm going to start with Ms. Karsnow.
Hi. Yeah, actually, some of my friends, their children have done school choice, and it was due to academics. They stated they didn't like the programs that were being offered at the high school. So they had transferred to a different school who actually, again, offered, whether it be home ec, college choice courses, just the whole curriculum. Oh my God, I'm tongue. Thank you. Is totally different. So that's why they had chose a different school. And I've noticed a lot of the children really like Bart. So that, between that and McCann. So I don't know if Jury is not offering enough, but I think we need to look into it further to see exactly, and maybe give the children like a questionnaire. What is drawing their attention to this school versus this school? So that way maybe we can work on it so we can keep the numbers in North Adams.
Great. Thank you. Ms. Maxey.
We talk about declining enrollment. I think we're on a national, middle of the national decline for students graduating from high school, which means we don't have those kids going through the pipeline. But we also have a declining population. And this issue ties into economic development and bringing businesses here and bringing people here and keeping people here. We need jobs, we need quality of life, we need to provide services for people so they stay here, or they go to college and they want to return here. I've been very fortunate that I was able to return to college and have a great life here. And as your mayor, I want to be sure that I provide the same opportunities for people. But I also think, we really need to look hard at those numbers, and we need to know why people are going out of district. And we need to market our schools. We have some of the best teachers and staff and administrators in Berkshire County, probably in Massachusetts. And we have some very talented students. And are we losing them to not having those types of programs that Ms. Karsnow described? But we need to switch it up. We need, as we say, we need to attract people to the community. We need to attract our students. We need to engage our students and have them like their schools and be engaged and involved like that we were.
Thank you. Ms. Bond.
Yes, we know that we have declining enrollment, and this has been going on for quite some time. The Berkshire Educational Task Force has been looking at this. So we know this is not new. This is across Berkshire County. So it's something we need to further look into. We know that Jury just graduated 83 students in the spring, and Hoosick Valley at 65. I think many of us remember graduating classes of over 200. So this is the reality, and this is the situation across Berkshire County. I believe that it is time to act, and I will be at the table for these conversations. And as we look at our enrollment, there are opportunities to really market and let people know of the good things that are happening in our schools so we can increase our enrollment. But at the same time, we have to look at this realistically. I think the data will point to what is needed with our schools, and we need to have a plan that is in the best interest for our teachers, our families, and our students.
Thank you. Ms. Maxey, you have 1 minute, if you'd like.
When we talk about coming to the table and bringing people together, part of my experience has been talking to those parents who want to transfer to another school. Part of my background is evaluating, why don't we have certain types of programs in our schools and how can we build them? And I think it's so important as a mayor that you have that pulse on what's going on in your schools. I've done that. I want to do more of that, but now I want to do it for my own community. And I think that is so important. I don't have children. I have a dog who's great, but I live through other people's children, and I love investing in kids and seeing them grow and seeing them flourish. And quite frankly, I did okay. I turned out okay, but I didn't do it alone. I did it because I had great teachers and staff members and people in the schools who cared about me.
Ms. Bond, you have 1 minute.
As we think about our schools, I think it's also important that we think about the services within our schools. I think there are opportunities that we can reduce this cost in our schools because it is quite apparent that our enrollment does not support 3 elementary schools. I think that's been talked and discussed. So we need to look at some of our shared services, if that's food service, information technology, building maintenance, just to name a few, across districts or across our schools. Because it's quite apparent that we cannot sustain our current model. We do not have the enrollment right now to continue to pour money into 3 schools. So we know we will need to examine these needs and act.
Thank you. Ms. Carsno, you have 1 minute, if you choose.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So the final topic that I'd like to discuss tonight is, would you like to rebuttal? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I just want to add, not so much
Sure.
rebut, but I think the Conti Middle School project was excellent. I think it's a beautiful building, and it was a great addition to our educational system. What saddens me, and we can't change it now, is we're losing our neighborhood schools. And even though East Main Street is still a neighborhood, it saddens me to see Greylock close. I understand that decision has been made, but we need to really focus on if that is the right decision. I think neighborhood schools preserve so much to a child's education. And I think it's important that we understand as we make decisions now that impact is long-term.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to add?
I totally agree with Jennifer, actually. I was actually saddened. My late husband used to have a picture he drew in Conti of a huge eagle, okay? And when they closed the middle school, that disappeared. But I don't understand why we don't have any middle schools. And I don't think young children should be with older children in school. I was raised on the other side of Boston. We have elementary, we have middle, and we have high school. We do not integrate these. Each point of your life is a different milestone, and I don't agree with closing a middle school and putting little kids in with middle school age or middle-aged kids with high school. It's different parts of life, and I totally disagree with what they did. And if we could save Greylock, I would choose to.
Thank you. So, as I was about to say, the final topic that I would like to address is your administration. If you are elected, I am curious as to the talk of transparency in government. And I've read all of your statements, and you all do talk about a lot about transparency and how your government is going to be transparent. So, what concrete measures will your administration take to keep the people in the city informed as to what its government is doing? And Ms. Maxey, you get to go first.
So to start, I am sure you all know my history, but I've worked in nearly every department within city government. I haven't driven a fire truck, but I've worked in every single department, and I know how city government operates. Under my watch, we had financial oversight. We talked regularly with our citizens. I made an effort to know my customers and to know the good, bad, or the indifferent. By doing that, you build a sense of awareness, and you share. As mayor, I want to be the people's mayor. I want to have a policy where if someone needs to speak to the mayor, I will talk to that person. I want to be visible. I want to be in the downtown. I want to be in the schools. But when it comes to oversight, there has to be checks and balances. And I have that expertise. I know what it is to work with a treasurer and an accountant and how everything needs to merge together and how it all rolls up into the recap sheet in January. That's what I do. And as far as, transparency, I think, we need to work, the mayor and the city council need to have an excellent working relationship. And I want to work with the city government. I want to work with the city council, but I want an engaging administration. I want an administration that is going to be available to the public. And I, as a mayor, want to be available to the public. And that means, maybe I'll have a quarterly, monthly, a meeting, come in and have coffee with the mayor. But at the end of the day, the buck stops with the mayor, and we are responsible for the operation of the city. And I am an operational person, and I feel confident that I can get the information to the citizens in the city council and the businesses that they need.
Thank you. Ms. Carsno?
I believe in working with the public. I am one of you. I believe in this. It's hard for me to express what it means to actually listen to people and work with people. I was a CNA for so many years, and I always asked for their input, asked how they felt. So I would continue basically doing the same. I would want to hear from my citizens if they had concerns, if whether it would be about property tax, water bill. One of the workers at the city hall or the police department or the fire department, I would want to hear their concerns and work with them. I'm an open book, so I'm direct and to the point.
Thank you. Ms. Bond?
I think it is my job to keep communication lines open so our teams can work together. My management style is one that is focused on growth and development for those who work for the city so that we can raise the bar in North Adams. I want to encourage my team, our boards, our city council to really think about the necessary improvements and process efficiencies that have to be made in order to grow and thrive in this new economy. And I want to motivate and empower my employees to make the best decisions for the future of our city. I believe we can increase efficiencies in our city hall, again, by offering this online tracking system for infrastructure needs and adopting online permitting, which are two technologies that are already offered in our neighboring communities. And finally, I think we can look at redundancies between our city and neighboring towns and explore shared services within our North Berkshire region. Again, my priorities as your mayor will be to improve our infrastructure, finalizing a site and design for public safety, look at the critical repairs for our elementary school, and increase the enrollment. We really want to encourage investment and create economic stability and deliver safe, quality housing.
Thank you. Ms. Carsno, you have 1 minute if you'd like.
I'm good, thank you.
Ms. Maxey?
During my time at City Hall, we ran an efficient operation. There were checks and balances, oversight, and accountability. I will regularly, as mayor, work with all departments to monitor receipts and expenditures and programming and grants. On our watch, there was no theft. Over the last 10 years, there's been theft in departments. And then policies were changed that made it more difficult for businesses. Government is here to help people, not to complicate their lives. And we need to ensure that we have the right checks and balances in place to help our citizens and to be able to report to our citizens. I want to be the mayor that restores responsiveness in City Hall, that phone calls are returned, that people are on site dealing with citizens that have problems at their houses. And I want accountability to our citizens.
Ms. Bond, you have 1 minute.
I also want to note that we need to demonstrate openly and honestly that tax dollars are being put to good use for the city. My expertise is in securing funding for large-scale projects, and that is something I, again, want to put that experience and that expertise to work. It is my intention to really rebuild our infrastructure, and that starts in City Hall. So we need that expertise to bring in those dollars.
Thank you. Would anyone like 30 seconds for rebuttal? Ms. Maxey.
When we talk about expertise in City Hall and we talk about operations and rebuilding, I know what it takes to run city government. I understand people have changed and things have changed, but Massachusetts general law hasn't changed. And as we want the community to change and grow, we need to make sure we have those safeguards so we can check all the boxes, so when we need to apply for grants, we have the documentation available. And I think it's also important that people understand that City Hall should be a one-stop operation. Oh, sorry, Tammy.
Thank you. Would anyone else like 30 seconds? All set? Okay. Well, we have come to the conclusion of our questions this evening, and we'll now start with closing statements. Ms. Maxey, you can go first.
Sure, thank you. Running for mayor has been challenging, but yet rewarding, and it's given me the opportunity to talk to so many of you. There are clear differences between myself and my opponents, but it comes down to style, perspective, and most importantly, our priorities for this community. What I do believe is needed in North Adams today is a strong and an experienced leader. We have many challenges ahead of us. These issues cannot be addressed, however, without working with the community. It is easy to talk about transparency, but it needs to be practiced. Not only will I listen to the people, but I will hear you. I know and understand the problems of the working men and women of this community that they face raising their families and meeting their financial obligations. Over the years, we've been burdened with higher taxes, a sewer fee, and yet we don't have working fire hydrants. No water and sewer replacement plan in place. My question is, where did the money go? As your mayor, I will bring back accountability and oversight and ensure that this city government is safeguarded. You will know where your money is being spent. Tonight, I hope you had an opportunity to hear all of us and listen, and also get an idea of who we are and what kind of people we are. And I would be so honored and privileged to get your vote as mayor. I would be so honored and privileged to be your mayor. Tonight, I hope that I've demonstrated to you my commitment to this city, my vision for making it the best it can be for all the people, for all the businesses, new and old. I believe in North Adams. That's why I've stayed here my whole life. I believe in you, the residents, and now I ask that you believe in me. I will be a hands-on mayor, ready, willing, and fully prepared on day one to take North Adams to the next level. So I ask you to please vote for me, Jennifer Maxey, on September 21st. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Bond.
Thank you. So thank you again to our sponsors, iBerkshires.com and Northern Berkshire Community Television. Thank you for having us. To Ms. Carsno and Ms. Maxey, thank you for being here. Thank you, Ms. Wilk, for moderating for us. As we've shared the vision for our candidacy, I'm encouraged more than ever about the opportunities and the future for North Adams. As you've heard, I am committed to improving our infrastructure. I will address our public school buildings and encourage and provide resources for investment in order to create economic stability and housing that is safe and reliable for our residents. We all know the city faces infrastructure deficiencies that are very real after years of neglect. As residents who love this city, we need to collaborate and invest in order to create a new era in North Adams. We're not going to be able to do it with aging infrastructure, or aging buildings, or aging schools, inadequate housing, and further deferred public safety projects. The earlier days of North Adams were defined by community investment. Our community thrives when we come together, and with the new infrastructure bill coming before the House, with public grants available, and some community collaboration, I believe that we can set ourselves up for success now and into the future. On September 21st, I will be asking for your vote and ask you to envision how you think of North Adams. I'll be working hard to earn your vote and ask you to please visit our website and reach out with questions. Please talk to your neighbors and be sure to vote September 21st. Thank you.
Thank you. And Ms. Carsno?
I'm an independent. I am a single mom to 6 and a grandmother to 9. After my father died, I stayed up here because my heart's here. I want to make a change within the city. I am one of you. I need your vote September 21st. I'm the only person that went to college within my family. And I'm hoping my parents are looking down and very proud of me. I want to work for you, the people. It's very important that you go and vote September 21st. It's time for change. We need to make that happen.
Thank you. I'd like to close tonight's debate by thanking the candidates for their participation. I would also like to thank Tammy Daniels and iBerkshire for hosting tonight's event. To the voters in the city of North Adams, please remember to vote on September 21st. The polls will be open from 9 in the morning till 7 at night. Thank you and good night.